Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Welcome to Cornhusker Corner with Blake.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I'm Brooks.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
And you better bet your bottom dollar that these two brothers know how to handle business.
Here's a hand up to Thunder, who gives it back to Mike Stokes. He's going to throw it. He's got a man out. Yeah! 40. It is. Eric Crouch. 15, 10, 5.
All right, welcome to Cornhusker Corner, where there's no place like
this podcast.
All right, so crazy.
The trials and tribulations of a podcast.
Yeah,
oh my
a podcast,
goodness.
a producerless podcast.
Yes.
No, so yeah, we've been putting this off for a while just for technical difficulties, and then my house decided that it didn't like AC anymore in Florida in the middle of the summer, so I had to put that off a little bit. But
Yes.
glad we can finally get this working.
Blake's
and,
not
go
very
up.
conversational when his house is 90 degrees. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I mean, how
I don't think
conversational
anybody
are
would
you?
be, to
Yeah,
be fair.
yeah.
I don't think anybody would be. But yeah, this has been a long time coming, it's felt like, but it is time for the podcast. We're going to recap a little bit of camp stuff, some odds and ends as far as camp, and we're going to get into our season predictions and then some college football as a whole stuff. So go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Any support we can get, we'll love it. You know, we love doing this. We enjoy it, and the season's almost here, so I'm really excited. If y'all are excited, go ahead and smash that like button. All right.
Oh, you did not just say smash.
You follow us on X. Follow us on Twitter /X at CHusker Corner, and on Instagram Cornhusker Corner.
So they're
now that
officially
we got
going
that-
by X. Sorry.
It's
Sorry.
X.
It's
It's
Like
X.
you
The
can
app
change
has
the name
changed,
and
all the
everything.
branding's changed. When you
I know he changed the
retweet
branding and
something,
everything, but
when you retweet something, it now just says post, repost, or quote post. Like
you
you
have
change
to
the
wonder.
branding.
You have
It's
to
an
wonder
interesting
if
decision.
Jack Dorsey like just pissed off Elon at some point, and he goes, "Okay, I'm just gonna take your legacy and change it completely."
Yeah.
But anyway,
I don't know, maybe, but X is still interesting branding. If Twitter had never existed before, like, people are just mad because it changed from Twitter, which was something that was already in the zeitgeist and highly marketable,
Yeah.
to a new thing. But X on its face, X
marks
it's
the
one
spot.
letter. X marks the spot. Like, it's easy to do branding stuff with the X.
yeah.
But yeah, that's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about other Silicon Valley companies. No, this podcast is about Nebraska football, and we are 8 days from the first game of the year. Wow, it feels weird to say that. 8 days from the first game of the year. We'll be giving y'all an actual I almost said Mississippi. We'll be giving y'all an actual Minnesota preview sometime soon. We haven't officially agreed on a day yet, but sometime soon. I think Sunday or Monday, somewhere around then. Either way, we wanted to go ahead and give y'all some updates on camp injuries and attrition, and just sort of discuss that. So let's see. Miles Farmer was suspended for I'm just going to go down the list, and then we can.
Yeah. Some of
we
these
can
are old.
revisit. We can revisit anything that like makes us want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So Miles Farmer suspended from the team, enters transfer portal, goes to Syracuse. Brody Tagaloa had a car accident. He'll miss the season. Marcus Washington has a cast on his right. Oh, he does not a cast anymore, but he's off and on at this point. I think they just said he's back like yesterday. So that's an update on him.
Yep.
Noeli is back. Once this was Noeli was hurt when I wrote this.
Yeah.
Maverick Noonan, the freshman, is hurt, out for the year. I believe he got a knee injury or something like that. Teddy Prohaska is banged up, but he's supposed to be back before the beginning of the season. Let's go. Jacob Hood, chronic ankle stuff, probably won't play this year. Josh Fleeks was overweight when he arrived at camp, seems to be fine now. Eric Gilbert was injured, but now is participating. And Rule had a fiery comment about his NCAA eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as just like the roster makeup, that's all the news.
Yeah.
If you think of anything else, let me know. But that's all I can.
A couple of those things are. Anytime you're in a training camp, they're a little bit more cautious with injuries than they are during the season. Not that they're reckless during the season, but they really want players to start off the year healthy. So they're really cautious with like, all right, we're going to sit you today. We're going to rest you and go and like stuff like that. So I think a couple of those are, I think you said, just like kind of chronic stuff. They're trying to really get in a good place before the beginning of the season. So
right. And in Jacob Hood's case with the chronic ankle stuff, I mean, he was of course the former 5-star offensive tackle prospect committed to Georgia, transferred to Nebraska. That was a big get. But I mean, he by all reports of everything that has been observed of him, he was a young guy who probably wasn't going to play yet anyway. So they sort of just announced it. He's basically on IR. That's basically why they do that, by the way, on the backdoor stuff. I mean, they have to have 85 scholarships and they have to have 74 for travel roster. And then there's 120 guys that Rule wants on the team. So when you take all that into account, if you have a guy who is going to be out and they need him to be out to recover, I don't know if, he would want to say this, but I believe that every program in the country is sort of just like, hey, we're going to announce this injury. He's not participating in camp, but while he's injured, he's on IR. He doesn't count towards your scholarships.
yeah.
So I think that's what they're doing with a lot of these guys as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
One quick thing about camp that I thought was very interesting and something to point out, which was something, I don't know if they're doing it this week since we're sort of moving into Minnesota game prep. But they sort of had a very innovative practice structure for max reps. They wanted everybody to get as many reps as possible. So essentially what they did was Nebraska started off, this is Steve Sipple. Nebraska started off with 55 to 60 mostly experienced players practicing for about an hour and 45 minutes. Then a similar sized group of younger and more inexperienced players practiced for roughly the same amount of time.
Basically, what they did, they split up the youngs and the olds, the starters for the not. They let everybody get a good amount of reps. When I played in college at the 1 year I did, they did that too. So it's pretty common to do that. And then there's always mixture. They want people.
Good insight.
They want
did
best.
You ever
they
run,
want best on
did
best.
They separate it at Tabor? Did they separate it goods and inexperience? Were you ever a part of that goods group that went out?
Yeah. I redshirted that year though, so they didn't. It wasn't like they were mixing me into like I was like exclusively scout team and like stuff like that. I mean, they did team drills. Yeah, I was wide out, but there was definitely a breakdown between that and
So real quick, we've never talked about this. What? I actually have a question about that. So what kind of wideout were you? Were you like a good route runner? Did you just have good hands? Were you fast over the top? Like what were you good at a wide receiver?
I was shifty, and I had really good hands. My route running
possession receiver. Like you're not going to beat them over the top, but you're going to have a good midfield route and get the first down.
Yes. Yeah.
So like
I would not a burner.
Charlie Jones for Purdue.
Yeah. So not a burner at all. I was very much so a possession guy, just trying to get into the right position to make the catch. And I mean, I didn't have a lot of experience going in, so my route running definitely did get a lot better throughout that year. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Moving on to real football. No, I'm just kidding. One other piece of news that came out a couple days ago is Rule came right out and said Gabe Ervin has been named RB1.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go ahead and play the running back quote real quick because he goes into every single one of them. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. And yeah, let's hear from the coach.
Yeah, I think for us, I think we feel like Gabe is clearly the number one guy. Ramir, clearly the third down back and still a runner, right? But Ramir's ability to track protections and catch the ball in the backfield is pretty special. I think, every scout that comes in here, I tell them all, like, hey, I had Jermichael Hasty at Baylor still playing. I said, he's just like him. He can run option routes, choice routes. So I think Ramir's got a future. Ramir has a little tweak to his hammy, so you asked about the injury report. Should be back this week. Just kind of got tight on him the other day, so we held him. But should be fine. So, I think kind of situationally, those two guys. And then Anthony is, when the ball's in his hands, Anthony's elite running the football. Anthony just, he's put the ball on the ground too much. He's fumbled the ball too much. And no matter how talented you are, if you fumble the football, you can't play for us.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to work on it with AG. He's had a good camp up until the last couple of days and sort of turned the ball over, but it's been an issue. And I normally wouldn't say that out loud, but I'll say it because Anthony, he knows exactly. Hey, I've got to conquer this. But when he's right, he sees it as well as anybody. And then we have a 1-2-3 punch. And then I'd say Johnson is he's in the running to be our starting kick returner, and Emmett's he's a versatile all around back, and I think he can help us as well.
All right, so that doesn't shock me at all. It really doesn't. Gabe Ervin has one. If you see the dude, I mean, yeah, you're about to pull it up. Look at that. All right. I mean, there are people like, oh, you skip leg day. He's in the middle of walking, and I think lighting is helping a little bit. But that dude is really yoked right now.
I mean, that's not like the best angle. He still looks yoked.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, so like he's put in a lot of work. I mean, he's even said that like last year he was not 100%. Because people are like, well, he wasn't even a starter, barely played last. He wasn't. He was still covering off of a really bad knee injury against Oklahoma. And he was a true freshman, and I kind of went back and kind of watched him a little bit, and he really did run well, but he ran with inexperience. And I think that, being in that system, getting to practice and then coming in just situationally in game experience, he has game experience. But I think especially the new staff and everything, I think that only helped him. As far as Ramir goes, that doesn't shock me. I mean, that is how you use a guy like Ramir. He's quick, he's elusive, but he's not like the guy that you give every single down to like pound the rock. That is what Gabe Ervin is going to be. Ramir has a lot more of that explosive talent, but not the big physical presence that you get with a Gabe Ervin.
I'm glad Ramir is thoroughly in the mix as it appears right now. Look, we've been fooled with him before. Like that's how it felt last year. It felt like it felt like Ramir was the guy leading up to last season. It felt like if they needed to name drop somebody, they name drop Ramir. Yeah. Like no matter what. And then he barely played. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like,
and if you've seen him like be a productive piece of the offense within I think we talked about this last year, within the Big Ten, it takes a certain player to be able to play that smash mouth type football and be a good player in the Big Ten. He proved that he could do it. And Anthony Grant, I mean, I don't like talking bad about the kids, and I think he's talented, but it doesn't shock me that, he's really 3 right now. Just going back, he dances too much. He doesn't hit the hole. He is a little bit careless with the ball. That kind of reared its head a little bit last year. He had sparks here and there.
Did he have any fumbles last year? Yeah. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but there was a lot.
Not a lot. So there was a lot of bad last year. But he just, when I look at him, I don't think he's more so of kind of like that gadget type person where you give your starter a rest and he'll do stuff for you. I don't think he is the workhorse that he was trying to be last year. And that kind of showed its head throughout the course of the season when he started off real well and his production went way down. Part of that was play calling, but part of that was just, I think he was just being worked too much.
Now, let's not understate it. A big part of it was play calling. Look, Witt did not want to run. Okay. No. And our offensive line, with the way that offense was situated, scheme wise, it didn't serve itself well for Anthony Grant, because Anthony Grant is not Amir Abdullah. Look, I actually wanted to bring up Amir Abdullah because I was watching some highlights of Amir earlier today. He just he had it all. He had it all except for that like Derrick Henry factor. You know, that Derrick Henry like big ol'. He's a crazy example, but even Braylon Allen or someone like that. You know what I mean? That big can run you over factor. He could do it, but he just wasn't that big. But he had patience. He had the timing of it just down. He knew when to be fast and when not to be. You know,
when to cut it, knew when to bounce it outside. You can't teach some of that stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just trying to defend AG a little bit because he did show sparks of being a potential talent for running back one. I just don't think he's the type of back like Amir, where it doesn't matter if there's a hole or not. He's going to find some yards somewhere. Same with like Rex Burkhead. Mm-hmm. He's the type of back where if there's a hole, he can make a good move on a guy on the second level. He showed it. But if there's not a hole, him dancing around behind the line of scrimmage ain't going to do anything for us.
No.
You just look at those backs that we had of that Bo Pelini era, just back to back, just Rex Burkhead and Amir Abdullah. One thing that those dudes had in common is they almost never took negative yards. Like they always, even on a horrible broke down play, like Rex or Amir, they'd find a yard or two. You know what I mean? Like, and it seemed like with AG, there was a lot of TFLs going on.
Yeah, no, and a lot of that's the dance factor. I mean, the running back is one of those things that you get downhill as fast as you can, know when to bounce it out. And listen, like, I don't think he's a bad back at all. I'm not trying to disparage him, but as far as like having that person back there, because the running back is something that just, I mean, you can look at it just within today and football in general. It's starting to be a forgotten position because we don't have that talent. We don't have that explosive player that people are like. There's a reason people always talk about like Christian McCaffrey. It's a Nebraska podcast. That makes sense. Talk about Christian McCaffrey. Talk about Derrick Henry. Like most offenses forget about the running back. They'll focus on other things and be like, here, can you get us a couple of yards here and there? But they don't use it like the running back used to be used. The running back used to be the offense, and everything else was just added to the run game. But now it's kind of switched. So I would really like to have a piece back there that is like a Ramir, that has that explosive ability that the defense has to think about. Because I'm sorry, but they're not really thinking that Anthony Grant's going to beat you by himself. But when we had Rex Burkhead, when we had Amir Abdullah, defense had to plan around them, and that opened up a pass game for a quarterback at the time, for Taylor Martinez, who could not throw, but he had guys wide open. And that's what good run game gives you, that dynamic player back there.
Completely agree. I mean, I'm very high on Ramir also. I just think he has so much to bring to the table. It also, what you're saying with the way offenses have flipped a little bit in the modern era, and how you just need a piece back there to make them plan around it. I agree with that. But it's that's another reason why Gabe just intrigues me so much, because we just haven't seen him in so long.
Yeah.
You know, like, and he looks so good, and all the stuff coming out of camp is so positive with him. The one play we did see, I don't think I have it brought up. I wouldn't want to look for it right now. But the one play we did see was in that one highlight video. And by all accounts, Isaac Gifford is a dude. I mean, he's a single digit. Coaches speak highly of him. But then this one clip, Gabe is trucking him. I mean, and he just looked like a dude out there. And Rule even said, one of the things he said in that press conference the other day is he was like, you know, I got here and I looked at the running back room and I saw Gabe Irvin and I just said, you know, whoa, that's what it's supposed to look like, you know, and hopefully he's sort of filling that mold a little bit this year. But yeah, any other position group stuff that you want to talk about? Wide receiver maybe, or backup quarterback, anything like that you want to touch on before we move
so
on?
receiver. I mean, we haven't talked since Xavier Betts left, but
right.
Good luck to him.
Leave. Good luck to Xavier. That does change the dynamic of the room a little bit.
It does. Sure. But as far after that, no. not in the receivers. The defensive line is getting a lot more pub than I had expected.
Yes.
And
A
that
lot of
is a
stuff coming
group
up.
that needs to live up to that hype.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
Rule
apart from
said
that,
on the herd today that he has 8 dudes on that D line that he would want to play, that he's ready to play,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are young.
and
So-
listen, that is what a healthy D line looks like, because
Right.
I get a first row seat to one of the best defensive line rotations in the entire NFL. The Eagles have it right. They have, because you have Fletcher Cox, who's been in the league for forever, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, and then you go out and you get Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. You have Hassan Reddick down there. There is so much that they can. Yeah, dude.
That's
And then
insane.
Nolan from Georgia. He's kind of going to be in that rotation too. For
Well, I
the
remember
end.
Jalen Carter from Georgia for sure.
Yeah,
Wasn't
they
he
were-
the
they
one
did-
that
they
was
both
wrapped
got-
up in all that BS?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, the Eagles are always so stout right there because they've
Yeah.
built that up for those rotations, because it's a hard position. You get tired really easily.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody that you can just stick right in there, nice and fresh, makes a load of difference.
Yep. Well, and the front seven in general, the defense in general, but the front seven especially in general. I mean, you need to have dudes up there, and one thing that, you know, the single digit tradition that Rule has started, which is basically the black shirts, essentially, but with numbers, and a lot, you know, only 9 or 10 of them are going to get it. They use 0, so 10 of them are going to get it. But yeah, so 5, they've handed out 7 of them so far, and 5 of the 7 are defensive players. 3 of them are linebackers, and then you have Nash Hutmacher. There's another guy. There's John Bullock, Luke Reimer, and Nick Heinrich. All 3. They're 3, 4, and 5. Then Nash Hutmacher is 0, and then you got Billy Kemp, who's number 1, and Sims, who's number 7.
And then an honorary.
Ethan Piper, can't forget the honoraries.
Yeah, I can't forget the honoraries because he can't wear a single digit. But
No.
yeah, let's touch on that real quick, and then we can move on. There's just something, and we talked about this. There's something about seeing a Nebraska quarterback in 7.
Yes.
It's just like I didn't really think about it, and then I saw Jeff Sims sitting there with 7, and I was just like, there's something that's just right about that, and it kind of goes into like, I don't know if Rule just knows, but every time he does something, it's just like exactly what the fan base wants. Now,
I know what you're saying, man.
the other part of that is he has to win, but it just seems like everything that's coming out just makes you more excited for his tenure that's going to be here. So
No doubt about it. And just a big shout out to the Husker media department. A look in has been incredible. I mean, it's college, right? So there's only so many storylines you can make. It's not going to be as well fleshed out as a Hard Knocks or something like that.
Yeah.
But with what they've done, at first I was thinking, oh, it's just going to be a bunch of little like fun highlight videos together into a 30-minute. No, like they tell a story in each episode. And it's really good. If you haven't checked it out, which if you're watching this and you haven't checked it out, I doubt it. But like, check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
The one last
it's
night
really
was
good.
incredible. It was an hour long. It was
yeah,
epic.
I only watched the first part of that. I need to finish it. Just didn't
it
have
was
time.
epic. Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on.
Are we ready? Are we ready to do this?
Well, before we go into our predictions and going from there, I think we need to cover other college football news, and then we can end on our
Fair.
predictions.
We'll end on that. That's perfect.
So general CFP news. Did I say CFP?
CFB news. It might as well be called CFB
Yeah,
now.
CFP. It doesn't matter. No, the one thing that I want to talk about is the news coming out of Colorado.
Okay.
And I want to touch on this real quick. A
Then
couple
moving
things.
into the Big 12 or what?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
no. Well, not moving into the Big 12. That is one thing. We talked about that on the last We talked about that on the last
did?
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
No, it had already happened. It had already happened.
Okay.
No, but just stuff comes up. I mean, they're trying to get that program top of mind. One thing happened at practice the other day, which he was getting knocked for a little bit, even though it was kind of misrepresented in the media. Yes. They apparently had a fight breakout that was like extracurricular activity, and he got mad at the other offensive players for walking off the field and not fighting as well. And people are like, oh, he's encouraging his players to fight. But that's not really, and I'm going to come to his defense here.
Do you want to watch the video? It's only a minute long.
No.
Gives us a little context for the conversation.
Sure.
Or I'll skip to the part where he's talking.
All
right. It's only 27 seconds long. Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a second. Share screen. Colorado fight. Okay.
Who just fought? He just fought. I seen two of y'all walking off over there, and you got a key teammate fighting. What they do that at?
Nowhere.
What they do that at?
Not here.
In one fight, we all fight. You understand that?
No, sir.
I don't want to see y'all walking off when somebody's fighting.
Yes, sir.
Never again.
All right. Come on. I was in.
New rule. If we're ever going to talk about Prime saying something, we got to bring him up.
That's true.
That's true. Because like, dang.
Okay. Yeah. So what he's saying is like, you have your teammates back. You have your brothers back. He wasn't encouraging them to fight. He's like, but if there's a fight going on, you better have your brothers back to, be there for him. I think that is misrepresented, and I just did want to notice that. But one thing that I think is completely absurd, that goes against that same ideal that he's trying to set. Have you seen their practice jerseys?
Yeah, with the ats.
They have their like ats
their
on the back.
Twitter handle.
Their Twitter handle. Like Twitter, the Twitter handle. No, but they have that on the back of the jersey. Like, there's a reason that practice jerseys, just in most places, and some like Penn State, their regular game jerseys don't have your name because you're not supposed to be you. You're not supposed to be you.
It is so cheesy.
It's cheesy. It's cheesy, and it goes completely against like team first. Have your brothers back. Look at me. But that's also Prime. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Look, all this stuff, Prime has been. And this isn't just us, it's every podcast, by the way. But Prime has been a hot topic on pretty much everybody's podcast, including this one. And it's because it's Prime. It's because he's an incredible talker. And I mean, we just saw him there. He's a character. But yeah. I don't know. There was a period of time for about a day or two where we on this podcast even were like, is he coming to Nebraska? Mm-hmm. The more I see, the more I'm like, it might work out for Colorado. It might not. I don't know. But I'm just glad that's not happening here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest.
Well, if you look at the Colorado
Nebraska practice jerseys with the ats on the back.
No.
Oh,
if you look at the like Colorado media, they're expecting to beat TCU to week 1. Like they're expecting it. They're expecting that, and then they're expecting to beat us. They're expecting to go to like a championship this year.
No, yeah. The sad part, Blake, is that if he was doing all of that at Nebraska, I'd be sitting here defending it.
Well, yeah, winning silences a lot of criticism.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, yeah,
100%. But it's a little cheesy. It reminds me a little bit of the Scott Frost, Oregon-y, UCF, like the phone area codes on the helmets. Yeah. That was a little more subtle, but still, it's a little bit of the same sentiment. For him, it was like you want to take a piece of your home or whatever. I don't know. It just was always cheesy to me. But
it's understated though. Like you wouldn't know what that means unless you know what it means. It's not. Look at my handle. Follow me. Give me money. Yeah, no, it's. Bro, I'm sorry.
If their game jerseys have the ats on them,
they're not going to.
I'm sorry. I hope. Look, Prime is a trendsetter. I'll say that. And if they game jersey put their Twitter handles on it, I'm gonna throw up. If 10 years from now, that's just like what everybody does.
Oh, I know, because it's so stupid.
It is so bad.
Anyway, let's move on from Colorado. I just wanted to mention those two things.
So since our last podcast, Realignment has I mean, there's 4 teams left in the Pac-12. Let's look at the picture. Let's see. You had Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State go to the Big 12, and Oregon and Washington, USC and UCLA, of course, went to the Big 10. Yeah. So now the Pac-12 is Cal, Oregon State, Stanford, and Washington State.
It's so sad.
It is
the
sad.
4 of them down there.
Especially because, look, we previewed the Pac-12 a little bit. We talked about some teams in the Pac-12. We've mentioned it on this podcast. The on-the-field product from the Pac-12 this year is going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be some pretty good football. But going forward after this year, any team that calls themselves a Pac-12 team is screwed, basically. And it's unfortunate because, one of the things that sort of made college football great and interesting is the regionality aspect of college football, is the fact that for a long time they played a certain type of football in the West Coast, and they played a certain type of football in the South and in the North and in the Midwest. And now it just seems like they are really like gearing things up for the NCAA to be no more, and for college football to be governed by itself and to be a factory for NFL players, essentially.
Yeah. It already is.
Yeah.
I mean,
it already is. What do you think about the additions, man? What do you think about Oregon and Washington to the Big Ten from a Nebraska perspective?
From a Nebraska perspective, I like that we're on the right side of things. It really could have been a bad, we could have chosen, imagine this wouldn't have happened, but imagine if we had stayed in the ACC, because right now there's only 3 conferences really that are really set up for long-term success. And because the SEC
stayed in the ACC, what do you mean?
Gone to the ACC.
Oh, gone. Yeah.
Instead of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So
I wanted us to go to the Pac-12 back in 2011. Seriously. I was like, I want to go play those teams.
Yeah, that made no sense. But if you look at things the SEC has brand power, and just the amount of brand power they have in there, especially now with Oklahoma and Texas, they're geared up for long-term success. The Big Ten has been really great about adding schools that will bring them more money. Even the Big 12 took the group of 5 schools that had the most money and the most attention behind them, and they brought them in. And then they, with their additions from the Pac-12, they're set up. So, but the ACC is it's fallen behind. It's the next Pac-12 disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to consolidate those into the Big 3, I don't mind that, really. I don't. It's going to cause a little bit more scheduling, nightmare, and they might have subdivisions within those.
Oh, I have a really controversial but good idea that will solve that problem. Super controversial. Very good. Look at this this page right here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams on this page, and you look at, which teams are in which conferences. It's like in every conference there's team for about 4 or 5, 6 teams, even in the mega conferences, that are big brand names, going to be good teams year in and year out. And then there's some that are not like the others. Mm-hmm. Well, in Europe, if your team isn't very good, there's a thing called relegation. And relegation is when you go to a lesser league because you're not up to snuff with everybody else. So why is Vanderbilt still in the SEC if SEC is the best conference? Why is Indiana and Northwest? I mean, when does relegation come? That's my question, because that would solve a lot of scheduling issues.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right to a point. It would have to be strictly football, though.
It all should be strictly football. I don't know why. That's the other thing that a lot of people have mentioned. I don't know why you're moving all of Oregon athletics to the Big Ten, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
move Oregon football to the Big Ten.
Can you imagine the headaches this is going to cause for basketball? How many games those people play?
Forget basketball, men's water polo. Those types of sports. Basketball will be just fine because at most places it financially supports itself. Yeah, exactly. That's the point. They are financially supported by the other sports. All those small sports, they're financially supported by basketball and football at all these schools. So, if it gets to a point where the financial burden of moving all across the country is too hard, they might have to start cutting things, and Title IX is going to get involved, and it's going to get really messy. So the idea that every athletic program of all these schools just need to be under one umbrella, and they all need to be playing the same conference, that's an archaic idea, because football and basketball are completely different from all the other sports. They make so much more money. Hell, even college baseball doesn't make that much money. From what I understand, most college baseball programs are about even with their with money in and out of their program. Now, if you're an LSU and you're winning the World Series every year, I'm sure your program's making money. But yeah, it's an interesting time for sure. From a Nebraska perspective in the Big Ten, recruiting wise, it does make some interesting conversation, because now you have all the West Coast brands, all of the ones you would want from the West Coast. Now you play them every year, because guess what? We had an entire segment where we talked for like 30 minutes on our podcast, 2 months ago, about the new schedules that just came out, 2024, 25. Well, guess what? They just threw a wrench in that, because Oregon and Washington are joining in 2024. They're joining after this season. So now they got to go back to the drawing board. And what's going to happen in Nebraska? Well, Nebraska is the closest Big Ten team to all of those schools, which means most likely we're going to be in a pod with those dudes. Like, we're going to be playing them all the time. So to be completely honest, I'm very happy, because like all of those West Coast schools, like, I respect them. Nebraska has been terrible. So from my perspective, if you're not a Nebraska fan, this will sound terrible, but I'd rather play them than play some of the Big Ten powers on the other side, because of the type of football they play. And because, I'd almost rather play them.
Fair. But I mean, so this is already gone, but I thought about this the other day. Can you imagine if we were even halfway decent with, like, when we went off into like the divisions, like with the teams we got paired up with, they wanted us to be that person in that slot, like the Wisconsin or Nebraska. They wanted that to be the thing, and we just couldn't do it.
You take the roster and coaching staff of the Bo Pelini 2008 through 2012 years, and you move that up to be 2014 through, or to be 2011 through 20. You know what I mean? You move that up to where Sue hits his peak in 2012.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, dude, history's different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, history's different.
It absolutely is. But
those are the types of questions that keep me up at night.
Yeah, that's what I think about too. And then when you're adding these schools, and it's like, we have to get our house in order soon, or we're gonna be the next Vanderbilt.
Absolutely. That is a big. That is the abyss.
There's a couple
schools
schools
looking into right now.
There's a couple schools in the Big Ten that are still well below us, like, and then financially, most of them, minus the, the Ohio States and Michigan, Penn State, like those were financially kind of right there, but there's like Indiana and Illinois, Maryland.
Let's just put it this way. The FPI, like the Football Power Index, they come out with like a ranking every week, and it's like the power rankings and all that stuff. So if you took like an FPI power ranking for like all of college football history, Nebraska is like objectively the third best team in the Big Ten. Objectively. Yep. Like third, you could maybe make an argument they're fourth or second. Because Ohio State is probably objectively ahead. Same with probably USC.
Yeah.
And then besides them, it's like Penn State or Michigan or Nebraska. You know what I mean? And it's looking at like what they've actually accomplished, it's probably Nebraska. So we're still up there, even in this conference. And that's the thing we have to keep reminding people. We have been down. People have been getting off easy playing us. They have been getting off easy. Nebraska is a sleeping giant with so much fan support. And it's another reason I'm excited for Rule, man, because he's a developmental coach. He has Texas ties. And I'm ready to go with these season predictions, brother. I'm ready to go. Yes, sir. It's time. I've gone back and forth on this quite a bit.
All right.
So here's what we could do. We could just go game for game. I'll pull the schedule up.
Yeah. And so do you want to just do our Minnesota preview?
I'm ready.
ready.
I'm not quite ready for that yet. quite ready for that. I wanted to go
Okay.
into depth with a couple of different things.
All right.
But we'll do it. We'll do it later. Because we got some other general things to tend to on that podcast as well. Okay, so here's the schedule. Okay, so I've gone back and forth on this. If you are a longtime listener to this podcast, first of all, thank you, and like and subscribe to the channel, as well as follow us on Twitter at CHC Corner and on Instagram. But I was a Kool-Aid drinker last year.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
I predicted us to go 10-2,
Yeah.
and my excuse was essentially like, what's the point if you're going to be negative? Was essentially my excuse. And I'm not doing that this year. I've learned my lesson. I'm going to try to be as objective as possible. So yeah. So let's go game by game.
All
right. We play Minnesota.
Go first.
What's up? Sorry.
I'll go 1st.
You'll go first each game.
Yeah,
that's fine. So we play Minnesota next
we'll
Thursday.
rotate. We'll rotate.
Okay,
all right.
Sounds good.
I'll go first with Minnesota. So Minnesota, I actually just recently watched that game last year, just to kind of see like what they had last year versus this year. I looked at a couple of their roster things. Like a couple of this goes with like I'm more prepared to do a preview. But anyways, I mean, they lose Tanner Morgan. He was really a non-factor last year. He was banged up. So they have new quarterback. But I think just in terms of new coaching staff on the road, trying to change the culture of winning against PJ Flex teams who, not going to lie, they are up and down. He's gone to bowls. Has he gone to bowl every single year he's been there? Yeah. No, he definitely has. Yeah. So they're always a solid team. And you go there with the sloppiness of what a first game always is. It always is sloppy. Away at Minnesota. And I don't think we're going to be able to pull it out, but I don't think it's going to be them running away with it either. So, but I do take that one as an L.
Okay. So, do you want to keep a tally just so we have something written down, or
I have my tally.
Okay. And this is recorded, so we can always look back. So yeah, Minnesota, the first game, it's going to be a tough one. Anytime, I actually thought about this today. Anytime your first game is a road game, it's always tough, especially when you're coming into a new program because you can't take as many players. You can only take 74 for your travel roster. 74, 75. I think it's 74, but either way. So like you haven't had any game experience with these dudes to really whittle that roster down to the players you want to take. So you really got to rely on what your eyes are telling you in camp as a coach. So that's a tough aspect to it. It's not going to be cold, it's the first game of the year, so we should be good there. I don't know. Minnesota, they're, like you said, they're always a solid team. As much as I hate all of the branding BS that PJ Fleck has, the on-field product is hard to argue with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we lose. We'll get into details later. I think it's going to be a closer game though, but I think we're going to lose. So yeah,
so we're both at 0-1.
Yes. So then the next game, September 9th, big noon kickoff, another road game. Nebraska goes on the road to Boulder to play Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. So if you would have asked me who I would have thought won this game 6 to 8 months ago, I would have said Colorado for sure. But as things have come out with Colorado, as you look at their practice footage, as all the stuff, I just have a hard time believing that they're going to be anywhere close to where Prime wants them to be the first year. Their practice footage looks like a high school footage. I mean, like, I don't know how to get around it. It's just like they post a picture of like all their DBs and it looks like the freshman team. I mean, so it's hard for that to not influence my pick. So I think Nebraska is going to win this game handily. I do. So for me, I have us winning. I have us going in there and winning by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Getting back to 500. All right.
Yeah, 1-1.
So for me, this game is a little bit. There's a lot more going on the surface. One, do I think that the media, just in general, is hyping up Colorado because of Prime? Absolutely. It takes a lot of really great coaching over a year to get a program from where they were to where they are. Some of the pieces that he's brought in from the transfer portal, just by nature of the transfer portal, not all of those people are the most reliable. So I don't think it's going to be what some of the people think it's going to be the first year. And granted, most people aren't really doing that. Most of it is Colorado media, but there I have seen some talking heads that think they're going to be really good. So
RJ Young, he has them in his top 25. God,
dude, Joe Klatt said that they're going to be either TCU or us to start the year.
Yeah, I did see that. That.
So
he's not as high of them for their year outlook, though. He just says for their first 2 weeks they're going to steal one of those games. No. But it's just because he's a Colorado homer. RJ Young has them in his top 25, bro. That's even worse to me.
That is worse.
They're number 20 in his poll. Sorry, go ahead.
That's crazy. But anyways, no. So if you look at just like another road game, we traveled to Minnesota. Yeah, we get more time to prepare because we play on Thursday. They play on a Saturday. So more time to recover, repair in between that. But then you have to turn around, travel again to Colorado. A second road game. I think we lose. I think some of the sloppy stuff still rears its head that made us lose the other game. And I think we lose in a close game.
So why are you giving Joel Klatt all this crap?
Huh?
So why are you giving Joel Klatt? So you agree with Joel Klatt?
No, I don't agree with Joel Klatt. But I just think, just in terms of like the Nebraska side of things, I'm not high on Colorado at all.
He's not either. He just says they're going to take one of those first 2 games.
I'm more so, dude. There's so many unknowns with us. We could suck. Like we could really, really suck. And I think you can look at like practice footage of like these people look like whatever. But yeah, no.
That's my analysis. They look small.
They look small.
But they do. They do. It's hard to escape it. They do look small.
They do.
Everyone points it out.
I just think from a travel perspective, two road games in a row, it's gonna take a little bit of a toll just on that. And I listen, this isn't our like weekly preview. I could change my tune by then. We could blow out Minnesota, and I could be like,
disclaimer. These are the preseason predictions. Yeah, if it gets to Michigan, if it gets to Michigan and we're 4-0 and looking like insane, maybe our predictions will look a little different by then. But yeah, so we both predict a lot, you predict a loss.
I predict a loss. You predict a win.
I predict a win.
So I have us 0-2 going into Northern Illinois. Okay. Now, this game is a little bit of a. Northern Illinois is one of those teams that basically every other year or so they're pretty decent. They go up and down, never like gangbusters, but they've had good teams.
Is Jordan Lynch still their quarterback? From like 20 years ago.
But anyway, I'm not going to go into it too much. I do think that this is the first win in the Rule era. Coming back home in Memorial Stadium might not be all that jazz coming off of 0-2, but he gets a little bit of a restart. The fans know that they're not expecting like gangbusters. They're expecting progress on the field. And I think the 2 losses are going to show that the same issues aren't there. They just have to get that culture of winning back. And I do think that they start off with a win here at Memorial Stadium. So
here's the unfortunate reality, and I don't want to get us off topic, but here's the unfortunate reality. The unfortunate reality is, well, okay, you said we need progress. Well, what does progress look like? Winning games.
Winning.
Because the only thing we were lacking was the fact that we would lose games in the fourth quarter. So unfortunately, it's a sort of a rock and a hard place situation. I'm beginning to realize. But yeah, I agree. I have us winning against Northern Illinois. So I have us 2-1 there, and you have us
1-2.
1-2. Okay. So Louisiana Tech, same thing. We'll get into more depth when their preview comes around.
Yeah.
We have superior talent. We should win this game.
I don't know. They had the coldest.
So win. You have a win as well?
Yeah, I have a win as well. So we go to 2-2.
And I'm 3-1. Okay. So Michigan. So
all right.
we're going to the game, which is exciting. I'm excited for that, just to be on the record.
And thank you.
Because thank you shout out to Jason Zollner and shout out to our dad for including us. But I do have to put on the record, Dad, if you're listening, I am excited. It's just he the way he told me was he was like he showed me the flight info on the computer. He's like, look, and I saw the date and I was like, Michigan. He was like, yeah, Michigan. I was like, dang it, we went to the OU game last year, now we're going to the Michigan game this year.
Dude, this is my third game in as many years. I went to Ohio State, Oklahoma, and now Michigan.
To be fair, the Ohio State game was an entertaining game. Like, at the very least, it was entertaining. Like, it was a fun spectacle. Like, and it was relatively close the whole game.
Yeah.
Smith and Jigba, and I was thinking about that the other day. Those Ohio State receivers in person, they were really something, man.
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy. But anyway, so Michigan. So do you want to go ahead and give your prediction first, since it's your turn?
Yes, I will. And here's where we divert, probably astronomically. Coming off of 2 wins, we're 2-2. All right. We lost to at least one team that we shouldn't have, but they were on the road. I think by this time the team's gained a little bit of confidence. Rule has them, playing with a lot of heart. On Michigan's side, I don't think Harbaugh is as locked in as people think he is. I think he's always looking for the next thing. And they always come out at least a couple games a year unprepared, and a team plays them close or beats them that they shouldn't lose to. TCU last year, how do you lay that egg? They were the superior talent, whatever. But I think that they do that to us. And I think that we win, and we go to 3-2.
3-2. So I have us a 3-1 going into this game. So under my circumstance, Nebraska will have built a lot of confidence because they lost to Minnesota in a close game, first game of the year, and then they beat the brakes off Colorado, and they starting to get their shit together over the next 3 games, just as a team. So they'll go into Michigan confident. I think that the fact that Bill Bush said something whenever it was announced that it was Big Noon kickoff. He said that usually a noon game can actually throw the better team off of its funk rather than the worst team, because the worst team has this caution to the wind attitude, whereas the better team needs to keep their crap together. And it's sometimes harder to keep your crap together at 11 a.m. than it is at a night game or even an afternoon game. So that's something that's interesting. I just think it's going to be a close loss. That's what I think. I think
close loss. All right.
Yes, I think that it'll be potentially like a 1-score situation. I would take worst that, man. A 2-score. At worst, a 2-score. But I think it'll be a 1-score situation. So I have us at 3-2.
3-2. Okay. 3-2. And listen, like our schedule, our little predictions here, literally only divert from the Colorado game. So that those two could be flipped, and we both have us 3-2 after the Michigan game. So
yes. So Illinois. So with that being said, it's sort of a 2008 versus Texas Tech situation where we lose, but we gained a lot of confidence as a team. But on the road in Champaign at Illinois will probably be a night game. It seems like Nebraska. It seems like the networks love to make Nebraska versus Illinois a night game, even though last year was a day game. I just remember it being at night a lot of the time. And I don't know. I just think that maybe that confidence will be a little bit of false confidence because Michigan's good. I mean, Michigan's great, but Illinois is good. They have a really good front seven and a really good offensive line. So I'm thinking the team collectively might be like, well, we just played Michigan, we can play anybody. And then they run into Illinois and they're like, oh, shoot, these fools can play too, Mm-hmm. So I just think it's going to be another close loss. So I have us at 3-3 in our first 6 games.
Okay. All right. So I have a different, same result, different reasoning. Right now they have the Yips playing away. They haven't won away yet. All their wins have been at home. So they go into Illinois, which is a very good coach team. Brett Bielema, you can love him or hate him just as a person or just how he looks. But he's a good football coach, and his teams are playing with a lot of heart. He loses his defensive coordinator, so that can literally throw an entire team off. Losing a coordinator, you have no clue how much influence that they have until they're gone. But I do think that we lose, and because we have the Yips away right now. So, yep, we lose to them. So next one is
we're both 3-3, huh?
Both 3-3 going into the Northwestern game.
Okay.
Go ahead, say it.
Okay. So Northwestern. So we play them at home. Northwestern just had a big scandal. They got some scared dude as their coach. So
win we go to 4-3.
So win and we go to 4-3. Yeah.
All right.
So
So
you
Purdue.
go ahead and do Purdue. Yeah.
No, dude. You can have Purdue. You can have Purdue.
Okay, I'll do Purdue. So again, Purdue. Ryan Walters is the new coach of Purdue, the aforementioned defensive coordinator from Illinois last year that we just mentioned in passing. Interesting choice as a head coach from the Purdue perspective because they've generally had offensive guys as their head coach. He's a defensive guy. He's a young guy. From what I understand, there hasn't been too much attrition as far as the transfer portal side. They got Hudson Card as their quarterback from Texas, the guy who
solid
Casey
dude.
was. Yeah, solid quarterback. Casey competed with him. So I don't know. I just have a feeling Purdue's going to take a large step back this year. They were very good last year with Aiden O'Connell and Charlie Jones. That was a good team. I don't think they're going to be that good this year. I think we win, and I think we go to 5-3.
5-3.
Yeah. So
Yes,
Purdue,
you're right.
go ahead and give your prediction.
Yeah. Why did I put that there? Sorry, I messed up my win totals. I just not realizing because I had us. No, because I had us winning this. Yeah, I have us winning Purdue. Shocker.
Do you need?
But
you
then
need to put a little abacus on your desk.
Yeah, I have us winning, but then going to 4-4. So that makes no sense. 5-3.
We still can't win. Even when we win, they put it as a loss. That would be a real systematic issue. We would have cause for concern at that point.
For sure. All right. So. All right. So next one, Michigan State.
No, you didn't predict Purdue, did you? Did you
Yeah, I
predict
did.
a win?
I said we win. I said we win, but I
Okay.
messed up the win totals. I'm just fixing it right now.
So I have them at 5-3, and you also have them at 5-3, right?
Yep.
Okay. So 5-3 going into the last 4 games. Are we both in agreement? That's sort of what it needs to be in order for us to go bowling. I mean, I don't mean like for rules, job safety. At this point, I don't really think about that. But like,
No.
as far as like to be bowl eligible, we sort of need to be 5-3.
The
going into our last
momentum
4 games.
of everything rules brought. Yes.
Yeah,
To
5-3.
keep that momentum going.
Okay, at Michigan State, go ahead.
So at Michigan State. So here's the thing. I don't think they're going to be very good. And that's not a hot take. A lot of people think that they're going to take a step down. That 1 year is starting to look more like a fluke than it is than the new guard at Michigan State, because they had a lot of really good talent on there. Got a lot of it from the transfer portal that 1 year, but I don't know. Just something about them smells fishy, and I do have us breaking the yips and winning this game at Michigan State, going to 6-3.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have us win too. I'm going to predict us to win too because I don't know. I'm just thinking about the way that we're approaching all these games, right? Especially with teams like Michigan State that are sort of an either or types of teams. It's more of like our analysis is more about, is that team going to be good this year? Yeah. Man, I really want to get it back to the point where that's not our central question we ask when we're playing teams. We're asking about Nebraska, because the idea is that any given night we can beat anybody, right? It doesn't matter what they're doing. Yeah. But I agree. I don't think Michigan State's going to be very good this year, and I think because of that reason, I think we're gonna win. I think Michigan State has dug themselves into a huge financial trench, second only to Texas A&M. Yeah. But they've dug themselves into one that's comparably big to Texas A&M. I mean his buyout is huge from what I understand. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But okay, so we got Maryland at home next. Now Maryland is an interesting team because they started to pick up a lot of steam, especially last year as like the fourth best team in the Big Ten. And they got a good quarterback. Talia Tagovailoa he's good. And I watched them play. They were in every game they played. I mean, every single game they played last year. They were in every game. And Loxley's a good coach. You got to give him credit.
Solid for Maryland.
Yeah. To the point where, I think we win this game, but I think it's very, very close. And I think, matter of fact, we have to come from behind to win this game. I think it's that type of game. Yeah. So I have us at 6 or 7.
7 and 3.
7 and 3. Okay.
7 and 3. So for all the things you mentioned, plus one more, I think we're riding pretty high right now. We got bowl eligible for the first time in 7 years.
Yeah, since 2016.
For the first time in 7 years, we got bowl eligible. Beating Michigan State at Michigan State, which is hard to do no matter what the product is on the field. It's a hard place to play. And then we go into a home game against
still the coach, right?
Yeah. We go Saban's still our coach. We go in against a team we should beat just for a pure talent perspective. But at this point in the season, Maryland is playing for a bowl. So they didn't have the start they wanted, but they're still very much in the mix. They're at 5 wins right now. They're really playing for something. We let our guard down and we lose, going to 6 and 4.
6 and 4. Okay.
6 and 4. You're at 7 and 3.
3. Okay.
Going into Wisconsin. So, dude, the biggest. I don't know what they're gonna be. Everyone's just assuming that Fickle's going to go in there and do the same thing they did in Cincinnati, forgetting that took a couple of years for him to do at Cincinnati. And then the Wisconsin is a completely different animal. We've talked about this before. I think he is changing the entire culture of what that football team was into what he does best, which I don't think that he's not going to be successful in there, but is it going to be this year? I'm not sold. Until I see it, I'm not sold. So, like, as of right now, going at Wisconsin, I have us winning. So, we go to 7 and 4 in my book.
So, I'm about to do something kind of funny in my own mind, which is I'm going to predict the opposite of what I actually want to predict. Because the thing that's happening with Wisconsin right now, as far as them changing their identity, what you just mentioned, it's the type of thing that I'll harp on all offseason. Oh, they're going to be bad. They're going to be bad. And then the season comes around and they're exactly as good as everyone said they were, despite all the pitfalls that I saw in their, and so I just think that I agree with you. I think that if Wisconsin is average to below average, I think that we'll win this game. But unfortunately, I think that because I don't think they're going to be good, they're going to be good. If that makes sense. And so with that being said, I think this is the blowout of the year. I think that unfortunately, like, Rule is going to sort of take on the Wisconsin shadow that almost every head coach has had here with having the occasional blowout loss to them or just getting embarrassed by them in general, which started with Bo, of course. And we haven't been getting embarrassed lately, but it's like it's been such close games, and we just lose, and we still get big brothered by them, if that makes sense. They still run all over us and take the clock down and all this stuff. But I think this year, unfortunately, I think the analysis that general people have, I fear that it's going to be correct. And I fear because of that, on the road, coming off of a 4-game winning streak, according to me, another game with a little bit of false confidence, and I think we lose pretty
Going 7-4 for you.
7-4 at that point.
7-4. Okay, so we're both at the same. We're both at 7-4.
Yes.
This is interesting. Going into Iowa, the last game of the season. It's in Memorial Stadium. I think that the wheels have completely come off of Iowa season at this point. Brian Ferentz has already been fired. And the nepotism circle has gone full. And I think Kirk actually even might be on the hot seat at this point. So I'm going to go with a win, bringing our season total to 8-4.
Yeah. So you look at Iowa, and they can't. I mean, really, what they just got to do is they just got to bet on themselves, No, but the Cade McNamara, transfer quarterback. He's the perfect fit as an Iowa quarterback. They don't need Cam Newton as their quarterback. Matter of fact, Coach Ferentz might not even like if someone like Cam Newton was his quarterback.
Yeah,
just because he can't control it. So he's a good game manager. I think he fits them like a glove. I think their offense is improved. But I think because of just the sort of cloud that's surrounding that program right now with the scandal and with, nepotism and with all this stuff, I think culturally the program takes a little bit of a hit. So I think that while their offense will be improved, the team overall won't be as good. So because of that, oh man, and if the betting stuff didn't come out before this, I would have predicted a loss. But honestly, that, you think about that stuff, that does affect that type of stuff does affect a program. So I predict a win. And if you asked me a couple days ago, we would have been going, 7-5 or 6-6 even. But I said it wasn't going to be Kool-Aid heavy, but 8-4 is more wins than pretty much everybody else is predicting. So it's still a little bit of Kool-Aid heavy.
Well, 8-4 is a good season. Definitely Kool-Aid heavy. But again, we've talked about this and people have talked about the rule rebuilds. He had a lot more talent walking into here than he did both at Baylor and Temple. And just everything that he's saying, the players look bought in. Could be a completely different story a little over a week from now. But the hypothetical questions that we have been asking all season, off season, are about to be answered, and I'm really excited for it.
Look, we both predicted a loss. Right off the bat against Minnesota. Mm-hmm. But both of our predictions, even though they're 8-4, it sort of just goes out the window if we win that game.
Yeah.
Because the whole season is ahead of us if that's the case, and literally anything is possible. I mean, TCU, I'm not saying this can happen, but nobody expected TCU to make the playoff last year.
Nope.
Now, Georgia showed them their spot. That's true, but I'm just saying, if you catch a little bit of a heater, you have a little bit of team camaraderie going on and culture building going on in the program. Anything's possible, man. Anything's possible. Seriously.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I mean, I think that's going to be it. We'll come back for a more in-depth Minnesota preview. But for now, just please like and subscribe to the channel. We like doing these and just show us some love. Follow us on X or Twitter at @CHusker_corner and on Instagram, just Cornhusker Corner, even though I'd never post on there at all. But But if you follow us, I'll start posting. That is my promise.
And enough people follow, like we make money. So
yeah. Jeez, saying the quiet part out loud. All right.
But like it's Instagram, man. Like come on, nobody's on there to just be on Instagram.
No,
everyone's on
right.
there to make money on Instagram. Twitter,
right.
I actually enjoy posting on. So like follow us there because like we enjoy being on that.
No. All right, cool. All right, just remember, Frost. Make America, make Nebraska great again.
I almost called Rule Frost earlier, like by a slip of the tongue, and it like made me pause and like sit there and contemplate.
I should have showed that right up top. This is a shirt that we got right before, and it keeps my Kool-Aid a little bit subdued from now on.
Hang on. I'll give you one thing that will totally just like, you get hyped up for the year. You get hyped up for the year, and then you just need a reminder sometimes.
You need something to bring you back down. You're right. You do. Our head coach, ladies and gentlemen, picture day.
Oh, what a stylish guy! What a stylish guy! Straight off the Marshall's rack. And he wasn't there at Marshall's. His wife was there at Marshall's. I can guarantee it. So anytime you need to tamper down your expectations, remember that guy's our coach.
That's the guy's our coach. All right. Always remember that there's no place like
this podcast.